darlings. I'm Ashley Marie Egan, and welcome to today's video. Today we will be talking about mistakes I made during the self-publishing process of my book, The Elements Between Us, which is a poetry collection. For the sake of this video, I will be talking about it in the terms of poetry, but I feel like anyone who's looking to self-publish any type of book could easily watch this video and still get some advice from it, because these aren't necessarily poetry specific things that I made mistakes on. First thing we're going to do is talk about the timeline of creating the book, because I think that will help with the mistakes. So we'll go through the timeline and then we'll go through the mistakes, and there are 5 mistakes, and each mistake has its own bullet points that explains why it was a mistake. So we're going to get started with the timeline for my book, The Elements Between Us, which is still available online, Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, and bookdepository.com if you're interested in buying it. Okay, as I said, we're going to do timeline first. So, the basic timeline for Elements Between Us. Number 1, the basic concept was formed for the book in February of 2018. Number 2, I compiled and created poetry and art pieces between March and April of 2018. I didn't write a lot of new pieces for this particular collection. A lot of that was compiling, but I did write a few newer pieces for the collection. All of the drawn and painted artwork, almost all of that was new for the collection, and all the photography was already created. So I didn't make any new photos for that collection. 3, I formatted the book between May and June of 2018. 4, I ordered the author's copy of the book in June 2018. 5, I made corrections and shortened the book in June of 2018. And I shortened the book because I published through CreateSpace, or what is now known as Amazon KDP, and you can do it for free, but colored books are a lot more expensive, and I was already worried about how expensive it would be, and so I cut down the number of poems that were in the book to make it a little bit cheaper. So that's why I shortened the book. And now 6, I published on July 26th, 2018. I'm filming this on July 29th, so like 2 days ago was my book's 3rd birthday. And 7, I made grammar corrections in November of 2018 after someone showed me some errors that I hadn't noticed before. 8, I changed the cover on March 20th of 2019 after the first cover I felt didn't do well. And I can actually show you the first cover because I think I still have a copy of it. So this was the original cover of The Elements Between Us, and this is the new cover. So these were the progression here. So I changed the cover from this to this because this cover I didn't feel like was performing well, and for other reasons I'll list later on, but this, here it is. So that's the basic timeline. I put it together in about 6-7 months, and then published it within that time frame. Okay, now we're going to go into the mistakes that I made. Okay, so mistake number 1 is rushing the process. So why is it bad to rush the process? Well, when you rush, you don't make the best decisions or judgments. And while I don't regret any poems or pieces I put into the book, I do feel like if I have given myself more time, I may have expanded on some of the poems, and I may have done some of the artwork differently. And that's not to say that anything that's in the book is bad. Just in retrospect, or in hindsight, I would have done it a little differently now, knowing what I do. Also, if I were going to do it again now, I would take more time to compile old pieces of poetry, artwork, and photography, but with an emphasis of actually making newer pieces that haven't been read or available online. And I would do that because I feel like that gives people more of an incentive to read because they can't just find it online. Whereas in The Elements Between Us, the majority of those poems you can find online on my Instagram. So I would adjust how I did that as well. 2, no beta readers or editors. So at the time of crafting this book, I didn't have any poet or writer friends yet. So I didn't have them to ask for advice or for their opinion. And so that kind of in itself can be problematic, because when you have people within your field that you can network and communicate with, that can be very beneficial and they can give you good advice. Also, I didn't seek out an editor because editors cost money, and the whole reason I was doing CreateSpace or Amazon KDP is because it was free. So I edited everything myself, and I feel like when you stare at your own work for long enough, you can miss things because you know what's actually supposed to be there, and your brain's just like, oh, you know that, and so you don't see it. So let's say you spelt Brian instead of brain. Your brain might still see the word brain even though it says Brian. And I've noticed that with my work, that I won't always see things because I think it is what it's supposed to be. And that's where an editor is very handy because they don't know what's supposed to be there when they're reading it the first time. And so they're able to catch things that you might not have caught yourself. And because I didn't have any writer friends, I didn't have any beta readers. Now, I'm not saying that your writer friends will always be your beta readers, but sometimes they will offer to be a beta reader, or they'll suggest where to get an editor or where to look for beta readers, which is always useful, especially when you're starting out and you have no idea how to do those things. Now, would a beta reader have been helpful for a poetry collection? I can't say. I know that it's more popular to use beta readers for fiction, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't have been helpful. And would it have been helpful to have had an editor? Absolutely. I definitely published the book with some mistakes in it that I did not know about. And so if I had had an editor, then those mistakes would have been pointed out to me and I wouldn't have made them initially. So if you don't have a lot of money and you're looking to publish, even publish free on Kindle KDP, you might not have the money for an editor, but if you make friends in the community, one of them may be able to help you out by doing it themselves or by recommending someone who might be within your price range to edit your work. And I definitely suggest doing that, and I plan to do that myself in the future for my next collection. 3, I didn't read enough poetry books prior to creating my own. So why is it important to read poetry books prior to compiling your own, or to read books in general if you're looking to do fiction? Well, if you have no idea on how to compile a poetry collection, then reading other collections can give you an idea of how they section their poetry. Or you cannot section your poetry. It's very common now that poetry is sectioned. So for example, The Elements Between Us has 4 sections or chapters. I'll show you. It's the table of contents: earth, air, fire, and water. So that's how my book is sectioned. Now, I don't think I had any issue sectioning my book and all of the poems in each section make sense. But if I had no idea going in on how I wanted to do that, reading other collections would have been a big help. Also, reading other collections within your genre will give you an idea of what book covers look like within your genre. And that's important because you want your book to sell, and while the age-old saying is don't judge a book by its cover, people do and will. So you want your book cover to look good. And I didn't read a lot of poetry collections prior, so I didn't really know what the book covers look like. And even my book cover now doesn't look a lot like other poetry book collections, but it looks more like it would belong in a poetry book collection. When it comes to reading other works and to design elements, if you read other poetry collections, you can get an idea of the internal design of the book. Especially if you're adding visual media like I did, it will give you an idea of how to add that visual media in a way that works. If I did it again now, I'd probably add my visual media in a different way than it is in the book. And that's why I think it's important to read books that are similar to what you're going to be publishing, especially with a poetry collection, so that you know kind of like how you want to format it internally, especially if you're doing everything yourself. Now, that's not to say that you should copy what other people are doing, just that it might give you an idea of how you can do it to a way that will fit the aesthetic that you're aiming for. And so, in general, the rule of thumb is to read more if you're a writer, because it will help you become a better writer. And I don't think that's just about writing. It also can apply to how things look when it comes to self-publishing. It can teach you how to be better at that as well. And so even if you're not doing it yourself, knowing what cover designs look like and the internal design looks like can help you communicate with the person who's doing that for you, if you're hiring someone, how you want it to look. And that could be more beneficial to you and to them, because then you get what you want and they know what to do. And if you're doing it all yourself, it's definitely something I would recommend doing. 4, I failed at marketing, and incredibly badly failed at it. Marketing is, incredibly difficult for most self-published authors, because everything falls on your shoulders, and it's up to you to do everything and to push it yourself. And I knew nothing about marketing at the time of my book's publication. I didn't even think to really look up that much about it. And even though I did my best to post about the book often, that didn't seem to help much with book sales. And I even paid at least once for an Instagram advertisement, and that didn't seem to help at all. And I have no real advice on marketing because I feel like I'm still learning about it myself. And so I definitely recommend just looking up research, just researching it. Google it, look at YouTube videos about it. Marketing is very hard. There's a reason that there are professional marketers. They go to college to learn about these things, because marketing is very difficult. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be really hard. And so when it comes to marketing, I definitely recommend doing as much research as possible. I'm still learning, and if I ever figure it out, I will make a video about it so I can give all of you the information, because it is really difficult. 5, I didn't manage my expectations well. So when I published the book, I didn't expect it to just take off and become an instant hit or anything. However, I did assume that everyone I knew personally would buy a copy, that all my friends and family would support it. This did not happen. I did get a lot of words of encouragement from everyone, and some people to this day haven't even acknowledged that I published a book, and I'm still not even sure if they know about it. And so you can't even rely on everyone you know personally to buy your book. And this will change from person to person, and on family to family and friends to friends. Some of my friends did buy my book, some didn't. Family-wise, I'm not even sure. So don't just assume because you know someone that they're going to buy your book and that they're going to support it. A lot of people don't like poetry, so they might be like, oh, I support you, but I don't want to buy your book because I don't want to read it and I don't care about poetry. And if you're a fiction writer, they might not like to read and they might just be like, yeah, no. Support you though. And it sucks, but you can't force people to support you. So just be grateful for the people that do, and try not to take it too hard for the people that don't. I also wrongly thought that a lot of my followers would buy my book. At the time of publication, I was somewhere in the hundreds. I'm like 1,200 something now. And so I thought that at least a little chunk of those people would buy it. That did not happen. A few people did buy it, and I'm very grateful for those people, but the majority of my followers did not buy it. So the harsh reality is, if you have a small following, don't expect a lot of sales. If you have a large following, you can expect a lot more sales. If you have an incredibly large following, you can expect a lot of sales. And that's just the truth. The best, the bigger your following, the more sales you will make. And that is why a lot of authors just peddle themselves so much on social media, because we rely on readers to buy our books, and without them we don't get sales, and then we don't get paid, and then hard to live off a dream that doesn't pay. And so that's why a lot of authors aren't even just authors anymore. They have to have other jobs, and so it's hard, but that doesn't mean you should give up either. Just manage your expectations going into publishing, and try not to let the numbers get you down. So I also have just a few notes. First off, publish for yourself. Work hard and never give up. This is not an easy field to break into, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And no one can tell you to give up or quit. This is your dream. Fight for it. Also, ask yourself if self-publishing is right for you, or if traditional publishing is right for you. For me personally, for my next collection, I'm aiming for traditional publishing. Obviously, I can't guarantee that. There's a whole process to getting that done, but that's the hope. And in summary, do your own research. Read some collections, take notes, make friends, and always keep your mind open to new information and ideas. And that's the best advice I can give you. We'll all make mistakes in our writing careers, but that's normal. It's normal to make mistakes, but hopefully you can learn from some of mine, and that can help you make less mistakes when you're doing it. Self-publishing isn't for everyone, and I think I only really did it to begin with because it was easy, accessible, and free, and I just really wanted to get something out there into the world. But my personal dream is to be traditionally published. I want my books in stores, and so hopefully that will work out for me. It's definitely something I will fight for. And you just have to decide, what is your writing dream? Do you want to publish? It's okay if you don't. You don't have to write for publication. You don't even have to share your writing. But if you do you want to self-publish? Do you want to traditionally publish? Do you want to do both? It's okay to do both. And so you just have to talk to yourself, figure out what you want to do, and work hard, fight hard, and hopefully everything will work out for you in the end. And that's all we can hope for, is that our hard work will pay off. So that's the video for today. I hope it was helpful to you. And as I said before, you can pick up The Elements Between Us online. There are links in the description. Thank you so much for watching this. If you have any of your own tips on self-publishing, please leave them in the comments below. Or if you want to just talk about your journey, let me know and I will read and respond. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you've made it this far, please pick up your bonus points here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! After the first color, no. Oh.